It's gone from a perfectly good running family to a thing where they've got one salary. And it also may be a thing that, they run into problems there just with the other families that are involved in that situation. If a divorce comes up, let's say, for instance, and you've got multiple families involved. So there's a lot of problems that can come through that also.
As far as the child care.
Right, through the child care wise of juggling schedules. You've gone through where, for instance, with my family, we had one kid that played tennis, and then both kids played tennis, and that helped out a lot.
Yeah.
But like I would be at the tennis court waiting for the kids to get through with tennis, or my daughter get through with soccer while my wife was finishing up at work, or my wife would be over at soccer while I was over at tennis. Well, when you cut that down to one parent, that one parent has to juggle a schedule, has to juggle a thing of being a mom and a dad a lot of times. A kid that wants to play football and the wife has never thrown a football, and the kid that grows up and he doesn't know how to change the spark plugs on his car, because he didn't have a dad there that, worked with him through some of the things. So it's challenges.
There are absolutely some challenges, some very good ones that you've pointed out that families have to deal with, these one-parent families. But it's not just one-sided, because the children also have to face some challenges as well.
The kids do, and they're put in the middle of it because a lot of times, of course, it's a thing they don't know, first off, why they got into the situation they're in. They see a family as where you've got a mom and a dad, and then it's a thing that one of them's missing. But then it's also a thing that they may come up with this, say, for instance, mom gets remarried and dad gets remarried. They've got two new sets of grandparents. They've got two moms and two dads. They've got two sets of rules sometimes. When they go to one house, they're being told that they can do one thing, and in another house they can't do it.
And that can cause a lot of confusion.
A lot of confusion, and a lot of kids that we see come through, just the anxiety of it, because they get it mixed up sometime. A kid goes through and he's told that he can't watch a certain program on TV at one house, and then he's sitting there leaned back watching that program at the other house, and the parent comes in and says, I've told you over and over again you can't watch that. And they're kind of like, I thought that was at the other house.
And that definitely causes problems for the parents involved in that situation. I know just recently I had a lady that was telling me about a similar situation in which a divorce has taken place, and she's sharing custody of a teenage girl, and how that the father of this girl allows this girl to do things and to go places that the mother does not permit. And that's caused a problem in the family, because the girl now wants to be with the father most of the time because she knows she can do whatever she wants to. And the mother's put in that position. If she holds her ground and does what she thinks right when the child is there with her, that she's facing possibly not seeing her child as often.
Right, and just the scheduling of holidays, that the kids have to go through when they've got two sets of parents.
These are a lot of things I think that we don't consider on the front end. And of course, we pointed out sometimes these things are unavoidable, as in the example of a parent dying. But sometimes, a husband and wife may decide that they're going to go through a divorce, and maybe in their mind they think this has no effect on anyone but me. But that's not true, is it?
No, it has effect on the whole entire family, not just the kids there in the house, but their parents of both sides, their friends. They've been sharing friends, and now they don't feel like they're connected because their connection was when there was two of them.
Voiceover on. Add controls. Button. Alert. App switcher. Bluetooth. Active. Bluetooth. Active. Settings. Active. Bluetooth. Bluetooth. Active. Close Bluetooth. Settings. App switcher. Activate default. Settings. Active. Settings. Settings. Edit. Button. Wi-Fi. Heading. Edit. Button. Wi-Fi. Heading. Connect to Wi-Fi. View available networks and manage Wi-Fi. Switch button. On. Selected. iPhone 17 Pro Max. Secure network. Signal strength. Low data mode helps reduce your iPhone data usage. Private Wi-Fi address. Rotating. Low data mode. Switch button. Off. Double password. Forget this network. iPhone Wi-Fi. Back button. Wi-Fi. Back button. Selected. iPhone 17 Pro Max. Secure network. Signal. App switcher. Settings. Close settings. Close. Chatbits folder. 4 apps. Chatbits folder. 4 apps. Chatbit. Apple app. Banking. Blind apps. Community folder. 7 apps. NASA apps. Skyview. Navigation folder. 8 apps. News entertainment folder. Online DNA family reunion. Email folder. 2 apps. 81. Radio music folder. Email folder. 2 apps. Radio music folder. 18 apps. Double tap to open. Open in radio music folder. Accu Radio. Receiver. Double tap to open. Bluetooth. Double. Bluetooth. Skip to next marker.
Relationship.
Back button.
Well, let's think about single parents a little bit more, and what can single parents do to help their children feel secure?
Well, I think a big thing is when separation does come, before they're maybe having to move out of their house that the kids have been, grown up in, that it's not a thing that they move off to a hotel or something temporary. The kids, as soon as possible, those children need to have security back again, of where they've got their own room or their own setup the way they had it before. Not at a grandparent's house where everybody's having to sleep in one king-size bed, or one sleeping on the floor, or at a mom and dad's house where they're welcome there and they like grandpa and grandma, but it's a thing of they want their family back together again as close as they can. So I think a big thing is just trying to get the kids stable back again in that way. And with little kids, and even kids that are grown up, to let them know that it wasn't them that caused this separation. It caused this one-parentness here. But it's a thing that they make them feel secure by loving them, especially little kids, just by getting them in the chair and making them feel secure again, because they don't know what happened.
And another mistake I think that sometimes parents make who have gone through a divorce with the children is they may try to use the children against the other spouse.
Using a child as a pawn is one of the most horrible things that I think I've ever seen. And a parent, for instance, a kid comes over to mom's house and mom's talking dad down, and then the kid goes over to dad's house and dad's talking to mom down. Kids don't need that.
Yeah.
They still love mom and dad. And it's a thing that we need to make them feel secure that they still have a mom, they still have a dad. They're not living in the same place. But when they come together, that they're civil with each other. They're not, when they go to make their pickups to pick up the kid for a weekend or a holiday or something, that's a war zone. But it's a thing that it's here, here's his clothes and here's the different things. It's a calm thing. It's not a time for us to get together to talk about the financial problems, that we're having, that I didn't get your check or anything of that sort. But it's a thing to make those kids feel secure.
And I think sometimes parents say things about the other spouse in the presence of the children out of anger. But the thing to remember is, I may be angry with my spouse, but this has an effect upon my child. I may be very upset with this person that I was married to, but that's still the daddy or the mother of my child, and they still have feelings towards them.
And that child has feeling towards that person that you're tearing down. So you're tearing down somebody that they're too small to take up for a lot of times, or they're afraid to take up for, and they feel trapped because they feel like sometimes they have to choose what parent. And no kid should have to go through that.
What about the spiritual life of these little children once these things occur?
One of the things that I really push parents, whether they're splitting up or not splitting up, just parents in general, if they're not in church, if they're not attending church and bring them not just to worship service, but to Bible class, so that they can learn the stories about Jonah and the whale. They can learn those different stories about the flood and things of that sort, that they get those kids involved, their children involved in the youth programs, the young all the way up through the grown, so that is one thing that they have that's secure. That's one thing that they've got kind of a support group, you know, that they can go to. And some of the kids in the youth group probably have been through some of the things that they're going through. And they can know that, okay, I'm going to make it through this.
So the youth group can be a extended support system.
That's it. And I've seen it happen over and over again. I was a youth minister for a long time, and I would see it happen lots of times where we would have somebody that would come there that would be from a divorced home, that the other kids that were from that kind of situation, they kind of latched in there and kind of walked them through when they had, you know, when they were feeling sad about things. Like they wanted to be Christmas with Mama and them, but because of the scheduling, they had to go be with another grandparent or another parent that they might not have wanted to be with.
So, you know, children are certainly affected by divorce or the death of one of the spouses, mother or father, and so, you know, we need to think about them. We don't always need to put the focus upon mom and dad, but these children, they need to be considered as well.
Well, I think one of the things that we see in that too is when we're talking about a husband and wife breaking up, that's two people. If they've got two kids, that's two more people. If they have two more kids, if they have two kids apiece, you know, the number just keeps growing. So it's not just a thing that they're affecting those two, but they're affecting the way they raise their kids. If they just give up on their marriage, then when they get married and something comes along, some hurdle, it's like, well, this is what mom and dad did. And we made it through it, so our kids can make it through it. Why not break the cycle?
Yeah. You know, you brought up at one point in time about the situation in which, you know, a husband or wife, for whatever reason, has experienced a divorce. Sometimes in those situations that person remarries. Another person is brought into that relationship with children that are not their children biologically speaking. Does that ever cause problems?
Oh yes, it's a thing that those kids are sometimes resentful of that person. For instance, dad gets remarried to Jane, our new wife, and that new wife wants the kids maybe to call her mom, and the kids are like, that's not my mom.
Right.
You know, so it's a big problem. Just in that part, when you've got siblings on both sides, then she wants to take care of hers, and he wants to take care of his, and that causes, then you've got parents fighting again.
Well, and you know, children are such a valuable resource, and we need to remember as parents that we need to do all that we can to make sure these children are brought up in the nurture and admonition of the Lord. Chuck, I want to thank you for being with us. If anyone's interested, they can contact Greater Chattanooga Christian Services. Till next time, I'm Barry Gilreath, thanking you for being with us today.
Let's make the most of a minute. In a certain village, there was an elderly man who was stone deaf. However, every Sunday morning and evening, he was seen going to the services of the church. One Sunday morning, one of his neighbors stopped him and, with the use of sign language, asked him why he always went to worship when he couldn't hear a single thing that was said. The elderly man replied, "I want all my neighbors to know which side I'm on." It'd be a much better world if everyone who professes to be a Christian had the same attitude, that he wanted everyone to know whose side he was on. Attending every service of the Lord's church is one certain way of letting the world know whose side you're on, Christ's or the devil. Hebrews 10:25 of the Bible commands, "Don't forsake the assembling of yourselves together as the manner of some is, but exhort one another, and so much the more as you see the day approaching." Whose side are you on? I'm Glenn Colley from the Church of Christ, hoping you make the most of your minutes.
Hello, I'm Jim Dearman, host of Good News Today. I'd like to invite you to join us for Good News Today every morning at 8 a.m. local time here on GBN Radio.
You are listening to WJHFLP 106.9 FM, sharing the truth, the whole truth, the gospel truth.
Skip forward 30 seconds.
To Florence and the Muscle Shoals.
77 battery power. Not charging.
Sponsored by
Control center.
the Jackson
Page 1 of
Heights
selected.
Church of
Camera
Christ.
button. Selected. Screen recording.